we actually are seeing some additional data on kind of how generative AI might actually impact the labor market. So we saw a new economic analysis come out this past week that found that AI adoption is accelerating and has significant implications for employment and productivity. So this study in particular is led by Jonathan Hartley at Stanford and a team of researchers from George Mason University, Columbia University, and the World Bank. Now, they surveyed US workers and found that as of December 2024, 30.1% of respondents reported using generative AI at work. So that marks a pretty substantial increase in AI's workplace presence compared to a few years ago. The data shows a strong correlation between AI usage and demographic factors. So, younger, highly educated, high income workers are the most frequent adopters. Industries such as customer service, marketing, and IT report the highest levels of integration, while predictably, maybe some sectors like agriculture, mining, and government lag behind. Now, one of the study's key findings is that generative AI significantly boosts productivity. Workers who use AI tools estimate that that previously took 90 minutes can now be completed in just 30 minutes, which is a threefold efficiency increase. However, the technology is used intermittently, with most employees integrating it for less than 15 hours per week. Interestingly, beyond the impact on productivity, AI is also transforming job search dynamics. Over 50% of unemployed respondents who were job seeking in the past 2 years used AI tools for resume writing, cover letters, and interview preparation. So, Paul, I think this is some research worth mentioning for a couple reasons. Amidst everything else we've covered, I mean, it's interesting takeaways that we can definitely talk about, but namely, it's pretty recent data, which hasn't always been the case with some of these studies. It's based on a survey of 4,000 plus people looking at some of the methodology. They seem to have done at least from my novice opinion, a pretty good job of creating some pretty clear and specific questions. Like, they define generative AI up front. They ask very clearly about how you're using it, like very specific date ranges or time ranges, like once a week, twice a week, etc. And it's also recent data. It's from December 2024. So what did you kind of make of this, and what can it tell us about where this is all headed or where we stand today?
Yeah, it seemed really well done. And like you said, the recency matters because a lot of times when we get these, reports, it'll be from like 6 months ago and a generation ago of
Yeah.
models. So this is current generation models roughly. Um, it is a bit in conflict with one of the studies we've talked about on the show before, which was Microsoft and LinkedIn did like a workplace study, like Gen AI in the workforce in spring of 24, so almost a year ago. And their data at that time said 75% of workers had used Gen AI. And always thought that felt high.
Yeah.
But it also was probably centered more on like the tech world, I would imagine, which would make sense then. So this seems like a more diverse base of like industries they were looking at, career paths. I like how they go into a lot of specifics. And this gets back to what we were talking about in the last couple episodes of this idea of these evaluations that compare it to like the smartest humans in the world at like the
Mm.
most complex problem solving, like mathematics and biology. That's good, but that doesn't tell us about like future of work stuff per se. So I really like these studies where we get into like real tangible applications in people's jobs. Um, One thing to consider is like you can't put too much weight on any one of these studies over an extended period of time because they're all snapshots in times. So as the models scale, we're not sure if the impact scales. So if we get a 10x improvement or like 10x compute put into the training of a model, do we see a 10x impact on
Mm.
the jobs and the tasks that it's able to perform? So we had this quote recently from Sam Altman when he was talking about the OpenAI deep research project that we talked about last week. And he said, it's not a scientifically rigorous thing, but my vibes based estimate is that it, being deep research, does about 5% of all tasks in the economy today. One feature, 5% of all tasks in the economy. So that's the thing we're trying to figure out is like, where are these models and what are they actually capable of doing? Because I don't think that the majority of leaders, whether it's our government leaders, like we just talked about, or if it's business leaders or university leaders, I don't think people realize how many of the tasks we do, we're within like 12 months of these AI doing them at or above average human level.
Right.
And that's the part where, as we jump to, we know we're going to get 4.5. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're going to get some new version from Anthropic, a new model from them maybe this week. We know we're getting Grok 3 this week. As these things get better and better, more generally capable, what truly is the impact on work? And that's what we're trying to like figure out.
I think people get too focused on the almost science fiction like changes that very well could be coming, right? That are important to consider. But this study alone is saying that, look, we're 3 times more efficient with these tools
Yeah.
today. Obviously, that's a broad statement. But if you imagine everything stopped tomorrow and all we got was a 3x efficiency gain across the board in knowledge work, that seems like something that's going to have a pretty significant impact.
It's a big deal.